but she glared at them and showed them her teeth. Where she was from, Carla meant funeral, and Bryn didn't appreciate being likened to death. It doesn't matter to me whether he gets away with it or not. She cast a baleful sidelong glance at Hayden, who had sulked back into the tavern on my heels looking rather sheepish. He knows Carrion cheats. I don't need another full-blown brawl breaking out in here. Not tonight. I've already had to toss 2 chairs out the back for mending, thanks to that swine and your idiot brother. I'm not an idiot, Hayden objected. You are an idiot, Bryn insisted. You're also on a 24-hour ban. Back outside with you. If your sister pays, I'll have someone bring you a cup of ale on the steps. I'm not paying for anything. Hayden had the nerve to look disappointed. Well, I'm not leaving without that scarf, he said. My lungs will be flayed raw by the time I get home. Best hold your breath then. Go on, out with you. Bryn waved the ladle menacingly in Hayden's direction, and my brother paled. He eyed the overlarge spoon as though he'd already been introduced to it once today, and was well aware of what it could do. I wouldn't have been surprised if Bryn had given him the black eye rather than Carrion. I'll get the scarf for you. Go and wait out for me outside, I told him. You'll not be taking it by force, Bryn warned. She swung the ladle in my direction, but it didn't have the same effect on me, and she knew it. The weapon had to be considerably shinier and a whole lot sharper to make me blink. She lowered the ladle, opting for a gentler approach. I mean it, Cyrus. Please, keep the peace. If only for my sake. I'm at my wit's end already, and it's not even 8. You have my word. I won't break any more furniture. I'll get what I came for and be gone before you know it. I'm holding you to that. Clearly, Bryn didn't think I was going to honour my word, but she sighed and stepped aside anyway. Hayden gave me a look that begged for me to vouch for him. He always had to push, but I knew better than giving those pleading eyes. Outside, now. Hold on to this. Do not let it out of your sight. I thrust my bag into his chest and was racked with a spasm of panic as he took it. It was one thing wandering around the ward with a giant piece of gold just sitting in the bottom of the bag. It was another thing to entirely stand in front of Carrion's whip with such a valuable piece of contraband on your person. The man was capable of anything. His fingers were lighter than the dawn breeze. He talked me out of my underwear, perhaps the greatest heist ever performed in Silverian, and people hadn't stopped talking about that for months. I wasn't willing to risk that he would catch a whiff of something interesting in the bag and endeavour to relieve me of it. I'll be 10 minutes, I told Hayden. He pulled a face as he left the tavern. Carla's patrons pushed their games with bones, their rowdy conversations faltering as I made my way to Carrion. Everyone followed me out of the corners of their eyes, half watching as I arrived at the grifter's table. Sparkling blue eyes danced with amusement as Carrion met my gaze. His hair was copper and gold and burnished amber as if each strand were a fine thread of metals that were so precious to Queen Mardra. He was always the tallest person in the room by at least a foot, broad across the shoulders. He held himself with a confidence that made girls all over Zelvarian's room. I hated to admit it, but it was that confidence that lured me into his bed. I wanted to disprove it, show him that his self-assuredness was nothing more than a facade. I planned on crushing that ego of his once I'd finished with him. But he'd done the unthinkable and proven that his swagger was well-earned. More than well-earned. It made my blood boil just thinking about it. The man was a thief and a liar, and he loved himself far too much. I mean, who in their right mind wore this kind of finery? To a tavern full of savages who'd cut your throat and steal the dirty boots off your feet as soon as look at you. He was mad. Arsehole, I said stiffly by way of greeting. He grinned and my stomach rolled in a weightless way that was made me curse under my breath. Bitch, he replied. Nice to see you. I didn't think we were spending time together anymore. His friends guffawed like morons, elbowing each other, even they knew this was a prod from Carrion. A poke. Last time I'd seen him, I'd been scrambling out of his bed, clutching hold of my bundle of clothes, swearing on the forgotten gods and all 4 winds I'd rather die than stick around for a repeated performance of the show he'd just put on for me. He knew he'd won. The supercilious prick hadn't been shy about it. He told me I'd be back for more, and I told him in very colourful language that I'd snap his cursed cock right off his body if he ever tried to come near me with it again, or something to that effect anyways. I got straight to the point, ignoring his friends and his suggestive bath. You promised you wouldn't gamble with Hayden again. Carrion angled his head, eyes drifting upwards to pretend to think about this. Did I? He said incredulously. That doesn't sound like me at all. Carrion. The bastard sucked in a sharp breath, his attention snapping back to me. She said my name. He pretended to swoon. You all heard it. She said my name. Again this time, earned a round of snickering from his infantile accomplices. Not only did you break your word, but you beat the living shit out of him, Carrion. Oh, come on, don't be sour. He held out his hands and palms up, his fingers splayed. He begged me to play with him. Who am I to say no? And if I'd beaten the living shit out of him, you wouldn't have seen your older brother sulking around by the bar just now, would I? He'd still be out there on the street, spitting blood onto the sand. I hit him. He thought about it. Once, maybe twice. That only qualifies as a light beating. And what's a light beating between friends? Hayden isn't your friend. He's my brother. Messing with him is against the rules. Carrion leaned forward, propping his elbows against the table. He bounced his eyebrows in the most infuriating way. I never met a rule I didn't want to break, Sunshine. We had a deal. I specifically remember saying I wouldn't interfere with your supply lines to and from the hub, and you said you wouldn't mess with Hayden anymore. He frowned. Yes, I suppose that does ring a bell. The gout, the nerve, the out-and-out audacity. So then why are you gambling with him? Maybe my memory's patchy these days, Carrie mused. You do get hit in the head a lot. Or maybe, he said, swirling the air around his glass, I knew if I messed with Hayden I'd get to see you. Maybe that was an opportunity too good to pass up. You broke my brother's ribs, you just get to see me. I couldn't have heard him correctly. There's no way he'd be insane enough to hurt Hayden for such a ridiculous reason. Carrion's tone was suddenly sharp when he fired back. No, Cyrus, I broke them because he tried to stab me with one of your knives when I wouldn't play another round. Even your brother doesn't get away with that. My shock was cold, dead weight in the pit of my stomach. He did. Carrion drained his ale. When he set the empty glass down, his charming smile returned. Now that you're here, you might as well join me for a drink. No hard feelings and all that. It was amazing how quickly Carrion could flip from one emotion to another. Also impressive was his ability to elude himself completely and utterly whenever it suited him. I am not drinking with you. It makes no difference if Hayden deserved what you did to him. He probably pulled the knife on you because he was trying to get his mask back. He wouldn't have been to do that if you hadn't encouraged him to gamble. You'd like whiskey, right? Double sound good? He was getting to his feet. Carrion, I am not drinking with you. The handsome snake attempted to slide an arm around my waist, but I dealt with predators far quicker than him. Ducking back, I put 3 feet of space between us, hands itching to move to my knives. The ones that Hayden hadn't borrowed, but I'd given Brian my word that there'd be no fighting. Karen's eye travelled down my body, his smile brooding when they skimmed over my hips. The memory of his tongue skimming over my hips slammed into me out of nowhere, drawing my wave heat to my cheeks. You're pretty when you blush, you know. The God's cursed thief didn't miss a thing. I'll tell you what, sit down and have a drink with me and I'll give you Hayden's mask. No deal. No deal? You seemed genuinely surprised. Entering 15 minutes at table with you is worth more than a ratty mask, you vulture. You was anything about 15 minutes. You know I like to take my time when enjoying myself. Holy martyrs, I did my level best to block the other memories that were trying to shove their way to the forefront of my mind. Karen wanted his off-the-cuff comment to remind me of how long he spent working with his tongue between my thighs. He wanted me to recall just how long he'd held back his own pleasure like it was his God's cursed job while he teased up mine. I wouldn't have given him satisfaction. 1 drink, 15 minutes. I want the chits back that you took from him too, plus another 5 on top for the inconvenience of having to breathe the same air as you. Kieran arched an eyebrow, considering me. I already knew I wouldn't like what was about to come out of his mouth. So, if I knew I could buy your time, I'd be bankrupt, and you'd be a very rich woman. You'd have spent the past 3 months on your back begging me to ride you harder, and 1 more word and I'll relieve you of your fucking balls, thief, I snarled. Well, he lacked in manners. Carrion Smith made up for in common sense. He knew when he was about to cross the line that would cost blood to uncross. His head glinted red, then gold, then deepest, richest brown as he held his hands in the air, banging his head in surrender. All right. The scarf, the chits, and 5 extra because you're greedy. Sit, please. I'll get you that drink. He gestured to his table as if he intended me to squeeze in between him and his cronies. There are things I would do for my brother and a clean glass of water, and things I would not. I picked out an empty booth 3 tables away and went and sat there instead. I was going to kill Hayden. Kill him dead. What was he playing at? He tried to stab Carrion. The boy was only 3.5 years younger than me, but he acted like he was still waiting for his balls to drop. And at some point, he was going to have to stop acting so recklessly and start considering the consequences of his actions. Even as I thought this to myself, always words echoed around inside my head, shockingly similar to my own. I can't even begin to fathom what you were thinking. Do you know what kind of doom you've brought down on our heads? Here, Karen sent a glass of amber liquid down in front of me. The damn thing was almost full to the brim. That is not one drink. It's in one glass, he counted. Therefore, it's one drink. I'd be staggering back to the Mirage if I drank all of that. I'd fall off the roof and break my neck trying to get back into the attic. Still, I picked up the glass and swallowed a healthy mouthful. I wouldn't make it through this if I was a little buzzed. The whiskey burned all the way down my throat and set a fire in my stomach, but I refused to react. The very last thing I needed was Carrie's with telling everyone who'd listened I couldn't handle my liquor. Well, I demanded, what do you want? What do you mean, what do I want? Your company, of course. I knew a lie when I saw one, and the man sitting opposite me was a seasoned professional. Spit it out, Carrie, and you wouldn't have bullied me into staying if you weren't trying to work some kind of angle. Can I not just be enamored by your beauty? Can I not just want to sit and listen to the angelic tone of your voice? I am not beautiful, I'm filthy, and I'm tired. My voice is full of sarcasm and annoyance. So let's just get on with this, shall we? Curry huffed a silent breath of laughter. He raised his own, considerably smaller, glass of whiskey to his lips and took a sip. You were more fun 3 months ago, you know that. You were so cruel. I haven't stopped thinking about you. Oh, please, how many women have you slept with since then? He narrowed his eyes, looking confused. What's that got to do with anything? This was growing tedious. Shoving the glass towards him, I made to get up. All right, Martazzy, you're all business. He took a steadying breath. I suppose that now you come to mention it, there is something I want to talk to you about. I'm shocked. Ignoring my turn, Carrion ploughed on. I heard something very interesting earlier. I heard that a Ravenhead rebel from the Third viciously attacked a Guardian style piece of his armour. A gauntlet. Can you believe that? Ha! The arsehole sure did love to play. Every line of his face, the way every muscle in his body was so casually relaxed, gave me all the information I needed. Of course, you know I'd taken the gauntlet. I wasn't going to admit it, though. I wasn't that stupid. Oh, really? But how? It's impossible for a resident of the Third to leave the Third. I took another pull on the whiskey. For a moment, Carrion did nothing but stare at me. He was reading me. Naturally, he didn't buy my feigned ignorance for 1 second. He wasn't about to start openly flinging accusations around the middle of colours. I know, right, he said airily. Crazy to still think about the poor girl up there now trying to find a place to hide such a massive piece of gold. You know, let's think that she brought it back here, to the ward. He laughed quietly. But of course, she wouldn't have done that. That would have been way too dangerous. Absolutely incredibly dangerous, I agreed. She would have made sure she put it somewhere safe, somewhere the Guardians wouldn't think to look. Without a doubt. Do you think a girl stupid enough to attack and steal from a Guardian would have the secret way her prize somewhere like that? I was gripped by the overwhelming urge to damage Colleen's pretty face. It was only with a momentary force of effort that I refrained. I don't think the girl's stupid. If anything, I think she's brave, I said through gritted teeth. I think it's more likely that the Guardian tried to arrest her and he dropped his cast armour in the sand. I think, but did she put it somewhere safe?